Right back like I left something, Mr. Hostess with the mostest, holding that fire like a roach clip. M6 Kyle's mom, man. Hey, with Tales from the Swamp. You dig what I'm talking about? This is just going to be a short video. I'm just responding to something that was said to me and about me. You dig what I'm talking about? This is all done in love, and this is all about teaching. You dig what I'm talking about? If your brother is wrong and you love him, just show him where he's wrong. I ain't got to bash you. I ain't got to cuss you out. You dig what I'm talking about? None of that. But, a lot has been made of this so-called, hybrid vigor talk. You dig what I'm talking about? And, even last night, it was assumed that, that people who talk about hybrid vigor, and I believe I was one of the first ones to bring this out, that we didn't even know what we was talking about, right? I want to show that they didn't know what they was talking about. Shout out to my brothers at Dogman TV, Nonstop, and J-Bo. But really, in fact, they actually don't know what hybrid vigor is, and yet they're speaking on it, right? They think two different species have to cross, right? Two different species have to cross to create heterosis, or what we know as hybrid vigor. I'm saying it's impossible for two different species to mix and produce a viable offspring that goes on to produce, because the result, even when two different species can intermix, the resulting offspring is always sterile, right? So they don't know what heterosis is, or what we call hybrid vigor. They think, this proves that, my brothers just did a 5-second Google search, because that's what you find. It's the cross between two species and blah, 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 blah. But they didn't actually look into what it was saying, right? They think like a frog and a dog can mix. Those are two different species, right? Even a wolf, you dig what I'm talking about, and a regular dog, even though they are in the same genus or family, they are two different species, and the resulting animal is sterile, right? Hybrid vigor. Let's get into it real quick. Let's take a look here and prove what hybrid vigor is. I just want to show you that I already knew what this was when I said it, and that they don't know what it is. And the proof that they don't know what it is that they're using the words wrong. They don't know how it works. Hybrid vigor, or heterosis, is defined as the phenomenon whereby a progeny exhibits phenotypic, or looks like, superiority over its parents with regards to its traits, such as growth rate, reproductive success, and yield. So that's what hybrid vigor is. They think it comes between two different species. Science, and I am saying the people who actually know what we're talking about, say hybrid vigor can only happen in a species one. So yes, dogs, when you go grab that old stuff and you mix it with this line, because see, let's just say, because see, you can have a genus like canines, right? But in and then you can have a species of canine like your modern dog. But in that modern dog, you can have a subclade of genetics, right, which are breeds. And in that breed, you can have a pocket of genetics, right? And the longer, even though they may come from the same source, the longer that they aren't interbreeding with each other are the so-called quote unquote familial lines. Mixing them together after they have been so far apart from each other is heterosis or hybrid vigor. It only happens in the line. Inbreeding is called homozygosis, right? Too much of it takes away. Line breeding or heterosis or hybrid vigor is produced by taking lines in the breed and mixing them or purportedly farly unrelated lines, lines that aren't close. That produces heterosis or hybrid vigor, right? Let's get to the video. Shout out to my brothers, man, at Dog Man TV. You dig what I'm talking about? This is not you know, this is just to correct, you dig what I'm talking about, the ignorance being brought forth, because you know y'all laughing and giggling like y'all know what y'all talking about when in actuality you don't. Let's just bring it forward. I'm not tripping. This ain't nothing. You dig what I'm talking about? And what I'm gonna do is not spout my opinion. We're going to go to the geneticists themselves, the real breeders. And I'm only doing this because I don't want my brothers to go to a real breeder and say something stupid like, oh, hybrid vigor don't exist. And then they just stop. They look at you stupid like, what do you mean it doesn't exist? You dig what I'm saying? I just don't want my brothers to be out here looking crazy, saying the stuff that they saying online, talking about internet dog man and stuff. But you know, if that's the case, we all internet dog men. But I don't want you to look foolish talking to a real breeder who know what he's talking about and been doing this forever and understands heterosis, right? And you turn around and say, oh, you know, laughing and giggling and say, you dig what I'm saying? Hybrid vigor ain't real. Oh, it come from crossing two species or a mutt. It doesn't work like that. You can get hybrid vigor from crossing a mutt into your pit bulls, but you can get hybrid vigor from crossing pit bulls on loosely related lines, right? That goes on to produce a offspring with more vitality and vigor than both parents. That's the whole point. I will say one thing J Bo said last night that was I had to just check myself because he was right. He was absolutely correct. He went left, you dig what I'm talking about. But this part he was talk about, he was right. He said, we got better, right? The dogs didn't get better. The dogs didn't get better, but we got better. So I say that's an impossibility too, and it's oxymoronic. How are we getting better? The understanding of breeding is getting better, but the dogs aren't getting better. That would go to say or prove in the end, if we are getting better, but the dogs aren't, well, the dogs are going to go extinct if we're not advancing the breed. You see what I'm saying? Let me just show, this ain't about who better, who does. Let's just talk about who know what, right? And what you don't know, and what neither one of y'all actually know, is what hybrid vigor is. When I brought that up, y'all went straight to Google and thought y'all knew something. Right? Let me show you what was said, and then we're going to clean it up after this, and we out of here.
How hard would you, Cosmo? You cuss too good.
And then all that old family red nose, you know it's old family red nose, right? Ain't new family red nose. It's old family red nose. So how the new family red nose better than the old family red nose?
Oh, we about to have that new family red nose today. We about to give them somebody.
Let me get back to the computer, bro. Give me a second.
Yeah, I'm close good enough to argue with you, Cosmo. you right.
Shout out my big OG J-Bo. I never would argue with you, sir. But I will correct you when you're wrong. I speak truth to power.
Right. Talk about my New Orleans brother like that.
They ain't putting together like I put it together. They ain't putting together like I put it together. Pull up the dog. And it's Red Boy Jocko Bowley up. Like, dang, that never been done before?
See, they think that stops hybrid vigor. No, you dig what I'm talking about? Showing you that you're using the words wrong. You don't know what you're saying.
You ain't a breeder like mine, like me. But I know one thing. All that hybrid vigor's talk stop.
No, it ain't. Right? I'm about to check you on that because I'm about to show everybody you don't know what you're talking about, bro. You my homie. Much love. But when you're wrong, you're wrong.
That's right, look, don't worry, DMV. I ain't about to mess with Cosmo. All them good cuss words he know. I don't be talking. But ain't nobody mess with him.
The new dogman terminology gonna change. I ain't hear nobody talking about no hybrid vigor no more.
I ain't know what to be. You get emotional.
I told everybody what it was 2 years ago when I heard everybody misusing the term.
Hybrid vigor with much.
Yeah, how you got better dogs and y'all screaming hybrid vigor and y'all don't even know what hybrid vigor was?
Now, that's funny. He giggled after that too. He said that we didn't know what hybrid vigor was. We just proved that they don't know. Watch this, and we're going to go on and prove that they don't know what it is. They think you got to be a mutt or that you got to cross breeds to produce hybrid vigor. This shows that they don't know what they're talking about. Watch this.
That's mixing two species of two different kind of dogs together.
No, not to them. That's bringing the old blood, and I'm going to take it with that to some new blood and get that hybrid vigor. Like, all right.
Now, he thinks, right, this goes to show, this is what we're going to check real quick, that he thinks that just because you dig what I'm talking about, you take the old stuff to the new, you dig what I'm talking about, that you're not producing hybrid vigor, or you're taking lines closely or far or that are far apart from each other and not closely related and breeding them back, that you don't get heterosis or what we know as hybrid vigor, right? We're going to let the geneticist show him he is dead wrong, and neither one of them know what they talking about. Look, this is from Dr. Carol Bochat, PhD. This is the myth of hybrid vigors in dogs, right? Is a myth, right? Watch this. We're going to drop down a little bit. The myth of hybrid vigor in dogs is a topic I've been putting off, hoping that it will fall off the bottom of the list, but it keeps coming up. The urgency of addressing it keeps smacking me in the face, so it's time. Watch this. Let me say that this will be about the biology of genes. Genetics is complicated, and it's more important that I write something dog breeders will understand than mention all the little nuances that I would gloss over if I was writing for a scientific audience. The thing for you to understand is, my brothers, that there is a truth supported by decades of data, as well as a scientific explanation that is firmly rooted in our fundamental understandings about the way genetics work, right? This is just going to show that y'all don't know how genetics work. And the crazy part is, many times y'all was telling us back in the day, oh, the blood clicked together. Y'all didn't know that that was heterosis or hybrid vigor, right? So I'm sure some people will respond with, but, right, just like these dudes was, You know what I mean? And shout out to my brothers. These are my brothers. I'm correcting you because I love you. I don't want you to look silly when you out here on the line being a internet dog man, right? At least speak what you know, not what you Googled, right? And bring up something I didn't talk about that they hope will dismiss all of this nonsense, right? That there is no hybrid vigor in dogs. That is nonsense. Huh? Nonsense from my brother J-Bo. Nonsense from my brother Nonstop. Huh? There's more we could talk about, but there are also buts that will change the simple facts. But don't let anybody try to convince you otherwise who is not prepared to haul out their documentation. See, I'm ready. I'm ready. Over and over, I run into the discussion about hybrid vigor and why supposedly, like these dudes just said, it doesn't occur in dogs. Let the geneticist tell you. All right. The arguments usually center on some discussion about pure breed and mixed breed dogs. And the position supported is that purebred dogs are just as healthy as mixed breed dogs. These ideas get very wide and enthusiastic support from dog breeders and even get extended as a reason why doodles and other delicate crosses are a disaster. Published studies are pointed to as supporting this, and even people with relevant professional expertise weigh in with support. But as I said before, there is a truth here that we really need to talk about, right? And that my brothers don't understand. See, before we can address the hybrid vigor myth, right, that y'all saying is a myth, right? Because y'all think taking the old or the stuff that's not related and bringing it to the stuff, you know, to some other stuff ain't hybrid vigor, right? See, but before we can address the myth of hybrid vigor, we need to talk about inbreeding. Huh? This is going on. This is too going on a bit, but inbreeding and hybrid vigor are inextricably linked. Huh? What you talking about? And we can't adequately explain heterosis or hybrid vigor without understanding some basic consequences of inbreeding. Huh? Inbreeding is the mating of related animals, right? When you mate related animals, it causes a thing the opposite of heterosis or heterozygosis. It's called homozygosis, right? You inbreed to lock in a trait, right? Inbreeding is the mating of related animals. They can be closely related or distantly related. And we might want to distinguish between close inbreeding and less close line breeding. So it is in the line where we find heterosis or hybrid vigor. It's in the line. It's line breeding. Huh? Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Inbreeding is homozygosis. It takes away, it has a negative once you do it too much. But it does lock in a trait that we, and that's how you lock in traits. Shout out to Schoolboy. That's how you lock in distinct traits that you're looking for, right? Doubling down on them. But line breeding is the opposite. They can be closely related or distantly related, and we might want to distinguish between close inbreeding and less close line breeding. But for genetics, it's all inbreeding. So like my brother said, don't matter if you go back to them same 30, 40 dogs, even in that pocket of genetics, there are lines in it that aren't necessarily closely related to each other. This is what my brothers don't understand. Related animals are likely to share alleles as a consequence of common ancestors. So mating related animals makes it more likely that the offspring will inherit 2 copies of the same gene. So you got two dogs that bite. You dig what I'm talking about? It's more likely that the offspring will, when inbreeding, will carry that trait. That's why you lock it in. It's why you inbreeding, because it gives you two copies of the same gene. We would refer to these alleles at the locus as homozygosis, or the same. This is how you get recessive traits. Recessive traits come from inbreeding. What is the opposite? Heterosis, hybrid vigor, comes from what? Line breeding. So yeah, bringing that old to the new, showing you don't know what you're talking about. If there are two different alleles at a locus, it is heterozygosis. Did you see this? If they the same, right? If it refers to the alleles at the locus and it is the same, it is called homozygosis. But if you get two different alleles at the same point, it is called heterozygosis. As a consequence of simple inheritance, then, inbreeding creates homozygosity, or loss of vigor, and reduces heterozygosity, or hybrid vigor. Hybrid in the line, in the breed. Animal, listen, this is what y'all gotta know. And shout out to the old heads, and the old heads did the best they could. You did what I'm talking about to pass this information on, but we gonna take it to the moon. Why? Because we are breeding better animals. Animal breeders noticed long ago that although inbreeding had advantages of improving the predictability and uniformity of offspring, there was also an effect that could generally be described as loss of vigor. These effects could be very subtle and even be overlooked as reflecting the normal variation in quality of a group of animals. But research over the last 100 years has confirmed that this phenomenon is real. Not what they talking about. They saying it's not real. It is real. We call it inbreeding depression. Or what the old school dog man called, it takes something away. You're inbreeding it too tight. You're too tight. Y'all didn't know that was literally called inbreeding depression, right? Now, inbreeding depression is not an increase in the incidence of genetic disorders of relatively high. Hold on. Inbreeding depression is not an increase in the incidence of genetic disorders of relatively high heritability like PRA or cardiomyopathy, which deals with the heart, and hemolytic anemia, which deals with the blood. These are all recessive traits that come from inbreeding. Rather, listen, inbreeding is not about that. Inbreeding is rather, it refers to a loss. Remember they keep saying it's too tight? It refers to a loss of what biologists call fitness, which encompasses the breadth of traits that affect the animal's ability to successfully pass its genes on to the next generations. Animals that die before reproducing have a fitness of 0. Animals that successfully reproduce but don't properly care for their offspring, which die as a consequence, also have a fitness of 0. Animals that have a high level of fitness produce offspring that go on to reproduce themselves and thereby perpetuate their genes in the population. And animals that do that less effectively or fail entirely have low, 0 or 0 fitness, or are suffering from what we simply know now as homozygosity. It's too tight. In the context of breeding animals and plants, when we're talking about inbreeding depression, we're usually referring to a collection of traits that affect reproduction and lifespan, such as fertility, offspring size, pre- and postnatal mortality, maternal care, resistance to disease, and general what? Vigor and vitality. These effects have been documented in many thousands of studies, and in all manner of organisms. Not what a nigga believe, not just what he talking about. This has been documented, right? Through all manner of organisms. And although there is much yet to be learned yet, there is no debate. There ain't no debate about the fact that it is a real phenomenon, both in the wild and domestic animals. So if homozygosity is, guess what is real? Guess what else is real? Heterozygosity, right? Or AKA heterosis, AKA hybrid vigor. And yes, it happens in the breed, right? It can happen in the breed, not only in the species, right? It can happen in the breed. So yes, a German Shepherd can mix with a Pit Bull. That will create an offspring better than both. Hopefully, that's the pro. But you can do that in a line in just pit bulls. Why? How? By breeding lines that are not closely related. But we're going to keep going and let the PhD tell you. Not what I believe, not what they believe, what the people who do this for a living tell you. Why do inbred animals have lower fitness? Because inbreeding results in an increase in the genomic homozygosity. And homozygosity reduces fitness, resulting in inbreeding depression, right? Homozygosity can reduce fitness because it increases the expression of deleterious or recessive alleles, recessive traits, stuff you don't want, like diseases. It can, or rickets, right? Some of which are lethal and can result in the death in early embryonic development. Likewise, there can be high levels of homozygosity in many alleles of small effect that control reproduction and otherwise developmentally and physiologically complex processes. Homozygosity also reduces the beneficial effects of what? Overdominance, in which heterozygosity at the locus is advantageous. Heterozygosity, right? AKA hybrid vigor at the locus, right? Where they're different, not the same, like homozygosity, is advantageous over homozygosity of either allele, right? What'd she say here? We could say much more about the genetics of inbreeding depression, and there are some sources in the references at the end that address the details, but these are the basics of what we need to understand about inbreeding depression as it is going to relate to the overall issue of heterosis or hybrid vigor. Watch this. Show my brothers that they didn't know what they was talking about. I'm sorry, right? But you can't be up there giggly, kid, and you don't know what you're talking about, right? You may be a dog man. I'm not saying you're not a dog man. You are, and you know what you know, right? But you don't know this. And so to try to turn around and then point the finger, ha, y'all niggas ain't talking about it because y'all didn't even know what it meant. No, nigga, you didn't know what it meant, bro. Real talk, right? Watch this. Of course, it is important to note that inbreeding depressions occurs in dogs, just as in any other mammal. As the level of inbreeding increases in dogs, conception rates decline, sperm count is reduced, litter sizes decreases, pre- and postnatal survival is lower, and lifespan is shorter. Dogs demonstrate inbreeding depression in the same way as other animals and invertebrates in general. I have summarized some data for dogs on the ICB website. Now, here's a heads up for y'all who may have drifted off. Here's the punchline, right? Inbreeding increases homozygosity, right? Or it makes it too tight. That results in inbreeding depression, or it takes away from it. They're not as good. Why? With negative effects that we can loosely refer to as loss of vigor. But heterosis, aka hybrid vigor, is the reversal of loss of vigor that defines inbreeding depression as a result of the increase in genetic heterozygosity, right? Or hybrid vigor. Now, increased homozygosity results in inbreeding depression in dogs. So the reduction of inbreeding depression that results from increasing heterozygosity is heterosis. It's that simple. Y'all didn't know what y'all was talking about. There are a few important points to emphasize. First, the sort of genetics disorders that breeders commonly need to deal with that result from recessive mutations such as copper toxosis, central neural myopathy, or exercise-induced collapse are not what we are talking about, right? Yes, these things can certainly affect the dog's ability to pass on its genes to the next generation, but inbreeding depression is not about a specific disease, but rather the steady compromise in functions that can chip away slowly at the health and productivity of populations of animals over the generations. Reversing the effects of inbreeding depression is not about fixing a gene or two. Notice, watch this. Notice that nowhere in here have we talked about hybrid vigor only applying to crosses between species. Now, I would have to ask my brothers, show me any two species that are different that can cross together that go on to produce viable offspring full of vigor, vitality, that can go on to produce viable offspring. Show me two different species. What you thought, a German Shepherd and a Pit Bull, right? Wasn't in the same, they the same genus, but they not the same species, right? But they're the exact same genus, so a dog can mix with a dog, right? Excuse me, they are the same genus and the same species. They are dogs. But in the dogs, they got German Shepherd lines, and you got, sub pockets of genes that are for German Shepherds. Then they got sub pockets for the pits. But in them pits, the lines that don't generally mix with each other and are not closely bred, you dig what I'm talking about? When you mix them back together, they create heterosis, or dogs that are better than the resulting parents all the way around. Now, notice that nowhere in here have we talked about hybrid vigor only applying to crosses between species. We ain't even said that because that's an impossibility. Which is often argued, like the brothers was doing, is often argued as a way of rendering the topic irrelevant in discussing about dogs. But in fact, there is some confusion because they're confused here about the uses of several important terms. What defines a species is its inability to produce fertile offspring with other species. That's what they don't get. Something biologists call reproductive isolation, which can be a result of anatomy, physiology, geography, or even behavior. Two species don't tango. So when you're saying, oh, you cross two species together and you get, nigga, they don't do that. Bears do not mix with dogs. No. Cats and mice don't mix. No. Two species don't usually go together. So when you're talking about two species being crossed, that proves that you don't know what you're talking about. Why? Two species don't even usually go together. But there are a few animals, just being fair, there are a few animals that we consider separate species that can produce offspring that are healthy, but are what? Usually sterile. Huh? Guess what a sterile offspring isn't? It isn't hybrid vigor. It has no vigor, zero. Right? Huh? But crossing a dog with a dog is a dog, even though it may be mixed, but you can do that with pit bulls. Huh? They don't know that. Right? They didn't know that line breeding is heterosis. It is hybrid vigor. The opposite, or genetic depression, inbreeding, right, is caused by inbreeding. Inbreeding takes away. Heterosis or line breeding opens the genetics up and gives more to it. Huh? Remember, we just watched what he said. Oh, it got to be two species. This show you don't know what you're talking about. But there are few animals that we consider separate species that can produce healthy offspring, but they are usually sterile, such as the mews, produced by crossing a horse with a donkey. Mews are what? Interspecific, meaning between species or hybrids. Huh? If these hybrids are generally sterile, we're not producing any hybrid vigor. Huh? Now you see how it works? Huh? When you cross two species that can produce, right? The offspring is sterile, which means it has no hybrid vigor. But when you cross pit bulls, right, to pit bulls, especially when they're not closely related, it produces what we call hybrid vigor, or what y'all old heads call the click. Now you know what you're talking about. Right? Since you my brother and I care, right? I'm not going at you. I'm teaching you. Whether you take it or not is on you. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But we know that you absolutely don't know this, so you should listen. Right? Maybe this is why you ain't bred a bullio, a brand new buck. Right? The reason there ain't one, you ain't bred it. Why? Because you don't know about hybrid vigor. But the real breeders do. And I don't want you to look like a fool in front of them when you're talking to them. Huh? Now, mews are interspecific or hybrids. If these hybrids are generally sterile, then we're not producing any hybrid vigor when we make these crosses. So the notion that hybrid vigor can't occur in dogs because it applies only to separate species is incorrect, my brothers. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Check. Huh? But we can also talk about hybrids that are produced by crosses within the species. Huh? See, y'all didn't think this could happen, but I'm showing you it does. Right? Y'all laughed at it. You said, y'all don't even know nothing about it. You don't know. Such as crossing different varieties or genetically distinct populations, or what? Lines in dogs. There are what? Intraspecific hybrids. When Mendel was sorting out the basic details of inheritance, he was making crosses between different cultivars or strains of peas, producing intraspecific hybrids. Look, like Mendel's peas, crosses between dog breeds would also produce intraspecific hybrids. Huh? So if you was to take different species, like a wolf and a dog, You dig what I'm talking about? Or a coyote and a dog, it's going to produce a offspring with no hybrid vigor, even though it may live because they both canines, but it's going to be sterile. But if you take that pit bull from old family, right? From the old family, and you cross it with this new Bolio tombstone or this old some of this red boy Jocko, or let me bring something that's probably not directly super related to it, like what would be some good stuff that would go with that? Let's just say Mexican Eli blood, right? In pit bulls, you can take that old family that haven't been, even though they related way back in the past. Let's say this Mexican Eli went to Mexico and been breeding, and this old family been up in Detroit for the last 100 years. When they breed back together, even though they're both in the same species and in the same breed, because they haven't been mated together generally, for the most part, for a span of time, they are not closely related. That produces heterosis or hybrid vigor, right? Crosses between dogs would also produce intra-specific hybrids. Like if you cross a lab with a poodle, you get a Labrador, right? You can do that, right? But that don't mean that they're going to have hybrid vigor, right? You can do it, but it's usually referred to as F1 hybrids. But we're working with a breed of purebred dog in which there is inbreeding depression because of the increased homozygosity. A cross with another breed will reduce the homozygosity of the offspring and result in hybrid vigor. But in fact, this is the checkmate. The dogs don't have to be different breeds. Headshot. That just show right there that you don't know what you're talking about. When you are line breeding, that is heterosis. In fact, the dogs don't have to be different breeds. They can be of these same pit bulls, of these same 30, 40 dogs 200 years ago. They can even be different lines within a breed. Showing y'all didn't know what hybrid vigor was, huh? The new dog, man, is just going to keep elevating. I told you J-Bo was right about one thing. The man is for sure getting better. But if the man is getting better, then so is what the man is producing, and that is the dog. You can't have one without the other. You got to have a left with a right. There is no up without a down. But this debunks what we just heard y'all say. But in fact, the dogs don't have to be different breeds. They don't have to be pit yodi. They don't have to be that. Like y'all was up there giggling and laughing. That's only because, you know, the loudest laughs are birthed in the darkest pits of ignorance. This is why I had to school y'all, but it's not for y'all. It's for the guys who be coming up behind y'all who thought y'all was right. Right? Y'all was dead wrong. Right? Dead wrong. Watch. But in fact, the dogs do not have to be different breeds or species. Right? Because if it's a different species, it's going to be what? Sterile, which means it has no hybrid vigor, like the mule. The dogs don't have to be different breeds. They didn't know what they was talking about. They can even be different lines within a breed, like Eli to old family, or Turtle Buster to Jeep. You can have lines in a breed. If these are populations are prevented from crossing for several generations, they will drift apart genetically. And when they are crossed, that old family, you do know they call it the old family. It ain't no new family. It is new family. That's the problem with you niggas. Y'all keep going back 100 years ago talking about Bolio. Bolio dead, nigga. We got Bank Spike today. Y'all keep holding on to the past. We trying to let this shit go. Because non-stops dogs are better than buck. That's what it is. He got the same stuff, but it's been in advance 25 years. That dog better. All you got to do is prove it. Right? If nobody proving it, well then yeah, you may be right. But there are people out here proving it that the dogs are better. Just like y'all said, like the OG said, one-time winners beating grand champions. First time out. If these populations are prevented from crossing each other for several generations, they will drift apart genetically. And when they are crossed, the offspring are likely to be what? More heterozygosis, more heterosis, or have more heterosis, or have more hybrid vigor than either parent. In fact, these crosses within the breeds. So when you got that red boy Bolio and you came back, Tombstone, and you came back and you hit it with that old family, yeah, you bred a better dog. And it's new. And if you keep breeding on that, you inbreed that and then line breed it, that's how you keep getting better and better dogs. If y'all don't know this, well, now you know. Right? In fact, these crosses within breeds are widely used in animal breeding to manage levels of inbreeding and what? Improve the vitality of the stock. The what? The vitality, the vigor of the stock. The notions of inbreeding depression and its opposite, heterosis, right? Hybrid vigor, are what we call settled science. And this is what I had to tell y'all. Y'all was arguing against something. You did what I'm talking about. Y'all was bumping y'all head against a wall. Y'all ain't gonna never understand it because you ain't never look into it. And that's why you're ignorantly babbling like you know what hybrid vigor is. And you don't, right? We just proved that factually, right? This is settled science. Ain't no debate, right? Hybrid vigor comes in the line. It is what you call line breeding. Y'all didn't know that. When you bring that old stuff that ain't been generally related and back to this other stuff that ain't been crossed together in 50 years, guess what happens? This is settled science. Ain't no debate. I'm just teaching at this point. The details might change in light of new research or ideas, but there is a broad acceptance among scientists that the fundamentals are sound and likely to stand the test of time. Why? Inbreeding, depression, and hybrid vigor are predictable. What? You talking about it don't even exist. This is why they said in dogs, right? They addressing the myth of hybrid vigor as a myth. Because y'all regurgitating the myth that hybrid vigor don't exist. But guess what? To real breeders, right? And I heard the little jab, y'all don't put it together like me. Y'all put it together like me. Yeah. Factually. Why? Because hybrid vigor is predictable. You're supposed to know what's about to happen and understandable. consequences of changes in genetic heterozygosity that can result from particular breeding strategies. Breeders of other domestic animals figured out long ago. Obviously, the dog man of yesteryear hadn't figured this out yet. Some had, and that's why their dogs kept getting better, and that's why they still here. Breeders of other domestic animals figured this out long ago, how to use heterosis or hybrid vigor to advance by deliberately crossing within or across the breed to produce the breed, right? The crossing within the breed, within the pit bull, and across levels of the pit bull to produce levels of heterozygosity in offspring, right? They are crossing within or across breeds to produce higher levels of hybrid vigor or heterozygosity in offspring than in the parents. That's the purpose. To make an offspring that's better than both of its parents. Many long-time dog breeders understand heterosis and use it to good effect in their breeding programs. I guess this is why we know ain't no new buck, right? Or y'all believe ain't no new buck. Why? Because many of you long-time dog breeders don't understand heterosis. So you haven't been producing better dogs. You dig what I'm talking about? And maybe your line name don't exist no more, and that's not a shot to nobody. But what I'm saying is, this is why some lines peter out, some don't. Because certain guys understand heterosis, and they know how to use it to good effect in their breeding programs. So no, hybrid vigor in dogs is not a myth. But why do dog breeders and internet dog men persistently insist that it is? I don't know, right? But for those who got something out of it, right, now we understand how to advance the breed. We are better dog men for actually sitting down and understanding that line breeding produces hybrid vigor. Inbreeding locks in the traits that you already have, but can have a negative result by what we call tightening up the blood or homozygosity, right? We all, just one thing you did say, J-Bo, that I totally salute and agree with, and that is the men, the dog men are getting better, right? And now we showing how to produce these better dogs, just like the greats of old knew how to do, right? They was just calling it click. Oh, that blood worked. That blood worked together. But this is all in love. You dig what I'm talking about? And you know your boy just gonna keep on scratching. You dig what I'm talking about? But I had to stop all that BS talk like y'all was sharp and y'all knew what y'all talking about. I just had to expose that you didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I still love you though. I did that out of love. You dig what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? You know, I want the breed to keep moving forward. You dig what I'm talking about? We ain't worried about people's beliefs about their own subjectivity, what can't be objectively proven, right? What can be objectively proven is that in the pit bull, line breeding produces heterosis, aka hybrid vigor. You dig what I'm talking about? And with that being said, we're going to get up out of here. You dig what I'm talking about? On a good positive note, man, I hope y'all got something up out of that. Y'all know I'm not, J-Bo. I hope you don't take it no way. Nonstop. I hope you don't take it no way. But I had to show y'all that y'all ain't as sharp as you think you is. These new dogs is better. Just saying. You dig what I'm talking about? Just saying. Right? And now, these new dogs is better, and now we know why. You dig what I'm saying? Heterosis, aka hybrid vigor, within your pit bull line. Within the breed itself. It's possible. Right? How do we know? If we getting better, then our dogs must get better. And if the dogs stay the same, guess what? They're going to go extinct. Just saying. You know what I mean? And with that, Kaz mine, y'all. I'm out.
G's up. Praise, player. Something about being a dog pound gangster. Hey, baby. What's up, man? EIGHT. Right. What's up, big style? Hey, what's up, homie? Hey, man, take this money and get your plane ticket and go to Atlanta, partner. Like a 740. What's up, big pepper, baby? Snoop, what's up, man? When you gonna put me up for one of your videos or something? You know I can still get out. Check this out.
Yeah. Back up in your ass for the 27. Don't wanna fuck with me. Yeah. We doing it like that. Motherfuckers out there be like taking our stabs, trying to do their own little this thing, but they can't do it, you know? So we gonna do it like this. Like, sit back, relax, and get cool.
Have you ever heard of a slaughter? I oughta start dipping, sipping on that ST gets me to tripping. I don't slips, I bangs with that mad ass dog pound gang. It's a DPG thing. Corrupt from the SC. You wanna test me? Let's see if you'll survive 45 times. Like a hollow point headed for your dome. Take a couple steps, turn around in its own. Couldn't withstand the murderous mental. I subdue and then take two to your temple. When I cause holocaust from what's written, niggas collapsing when the straps is spitting. Look, this is how it's done, nigga. 1, 2, 3. I grab my strap, your best run, nigga. I give the fuck, corrupts the kingpin of the clique. Then it was G with the biggest dick.
Shit, a motherfucker better recognize. With the twist of my wrist like OJ, you won't die. I snack on motherfuckers like a bone. On the beat and shit upon the microphone ever since I was born. Not to ever love a bitch. Learn game after game. That's why we are the best. Motherfuckers be gangster styles minute after minute. But soon as you did it, I smelt the nigga shit. Now what would you do? If you could fuck with me or my crew?
But you can't, so don't even think about stepping in the motherfucking house.
What would you do? If you could fuck with me or my crew?
But you can't, so don't even think about stepping in the motherfucking house.
Bitches butterfly all day while I steady make my pay every single day in the LBC. Cruising through the east side, me a little style in the back of a green 6-4 bustin' freestyle.
There's no mistake, give me the papes in the tape case. How much money could a nigga make in one place? The review ain't shit new. You stupid motherfuckers can't fuck with my crew.
I see all these niggas trying to get with my kinfolk. Get so many busters on the west coast. And none to say the least, I see a few trick ass niggas laying low on the east coast. And the question is asked, do you wanna rap, scrap, or blast? Cause that nigga dad, I'll be the first one to hit him. Oh yeah, fuck BG knockout and every nigga down with him. Cause I'm a natural born killer, and I'm still a hat. Motherfucker, cause it's like that. Now what would you like what you tell? You can fuck with me on my crew.
It's so many motherfuckers that I can include. Who's quick to blast motherfuckers in a feud? It doesn't make a difference, cause it's about who's the quickest on the draw to end all existence. For instance, let's take these ruthless fools in a pound in one room. Assume it's only for conversation, so let's conversate. Slip a nigga to 38 then dip. Empty out the clip, mind on set trip, cause niggas talk shit.
Now if a nigga had a prayer before a nigga died, would the nigga be dead or would he stay alive? And if I was in your shoes, would I survive? Probably not. You probably let your Glock go pop. Now drop to your knees and picture that nigga dance, flowing in the breeze. Now what would you do?